County Commissioners. Uh, the chairman is overseas, so he asked me to step in, so you guys give me a little grace if you don't mind. Um, I'll call the meeting to order at approximately 10:03 a.m. With that, I'll ask for a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. If you would, vote electronically. Districts 1, 2, 3, and 4 vote yea. The agenda is approved. Now, next is our invocation by Jonathan Dawson, Lake Point Community Church. Good morning.
Morning. Let's pray. Father God, it is a blessing to be here. It's a blessing to be a part of this community. And God, I just pray that you would bless this meeting, these leaders who have stepped up to do the work of this county. And I pray, Father, that all these things that they do would be, in these things, the decisions they make, they would be mindful of every resident that's here, not only me, myself, and others that we care about, but every single one. And I just pray for the benefit of Putnam County that we would grow and be the people that you would have us to be. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Jonathan. Next up is our Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask our County Manager, Byron, if you'd lead us in the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Byron. Next is a special presentation for Men's Health Month. We have a proclamation, and Commissioners, I would invite you to come down to the front while Byron reads that, please. Is there anyone here? Do we have anyone here? No?
Yeah. All right. Whereas Men's Health Month is part of an ongoing international effort to educate men, boys, and their families about the importance of preventative health screenings, early detection, and health lifestyles. And whereas nationwide, men have a life expectancy that is approximately 6 years shorter than that of women, and experience higher rates of chronic disease, including diabetes, obesity, cancer, heart disease, and premature mortality. And whereas Men's Health Month provides an opportunity to recognize the mental and physical health needs of men and boys, while encouraging fathers and caregivers to serve as positive role models through preventative care, healthy living, and help-seeking behaviors. And whereas the growing epidemic of deaths of despair, including deaths related to suicide, substance use disorders, alcohol misuse, and homelessness, underscores the urgent need to raise awareness of unrecognized and undiagnosed depression, mental stress, and emotional distress among boys and men. And whereas the centerpiece of Men's Health Month is National Men's Health Week, a special awareness period passed by Congress and signed into law on May 31st, 1994, and observed annually through the efforts of Men's Health Network to build health empathy, recognition, and understanding of the unique health needs facing men and boys. Now, therefore, the Putnam County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the month of June as Men's Health Month, with special recognition of June 15th through 21st, 2026, as Men's Health Week in Putnam County, Georgia, and encourages year-round attention to the health and well-being of boys and men in our community. Proclaimed this 5th day of June, 2026.
Next, we'll move into the regular business meeting for public comments, and we have none. Okay, but we do have some folks signed in to speak on several agenda items. All right. Next is the approval of the consent agenda. This will be approval of the minutes from May 19th, 2026, Middle Georgia Regional Commission call meeting. Approval of minutes May 19th, 2026, regular meeting. Approval of minutes May 19th, executive session. And approval of the 2026 alcohol license, and there is one. Okay.
Move that we approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, vote electronically, please. Districts 1, 2, 3, and 4 vote yea, and the consent agenda is approved. Item 8 is discussion and possible action regarding the 2026 alcohol license for Welcome to the Lake LLC, doing business as Lake House Tap. Is there anyone here to speak for Lake House Tap? That's on the agenda. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'll get it right. Courtney Garner. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Well,
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
just seeing exactly what was going on with it.
Okay. So I guess, County Manager, I'll ask you to speak
Yes,
to that.
so the application was submitted. All the fees have been paid. The re-inspection fees for all of the fire inspections were actually paid yesterday afternoon. However, there was a citation issued for violation of the county's ordinance for serving, I believe, without a local license. The sheriff can speak to exactly what the citation was for. That citation is set to be arraigned in court in July. The county's ordinance says that, and it says shall, so it's not like you have a choice. So if they are found guilty in court in July, then their alcohol license would be revoked. So if you were to issue the license today and it's adjudicated in court in July, then you would turn right around and their license would be revoked. So I think the board needs to take that into consideration. You have several options. Of course, you could issue the license if you wanted to. Then you would be confronted with possibly revoking it. You could table it pending the outcome of the adjudication in court. You could issue the license conditioned upon the court ruling being in favor of the applicant. You have several options. That's of course up to the board. So that's really the background. If you want the sheriff to speak, certainly he's here and he's willing to speak.
This is a simple thing, okay? I get a list from Ms. Butterworth of people and businesses that did not get their licenses renewed. And these licenses are to be renewed January 1, okay? And obviously, I'll be honest with you, this is not a priority of ours, but I get reminded occasionally from Ms. Fluker that this hadn't been done. So, one afternoon when there's not much going on, I sent one of my guys out to buy a beer at he sat there and drank all of it before I could get inside. And the bottom line is they don't have a license. They did not have a license. It's very similar to the crime of escape. If you're supposed to be in my jail and you're in Macon, well, you've escaped, okay? And they did not have a license, and they were cited for selling alcohol without a license. Now, the conundrum, of course, as Mr. Lombard has explained to you, is that, yes, you can issue them a new license today, but I don't think they're going to be acquitted, okay? It's either you did or you didn't, but that's certainly up to the board. And any questions?
Sheriff, that's helpful. if adjudication does go against the applicant, what are their options at that point for potentially regaining their license?
Well, according to your ordinance, they can't have one.
Forever, that's
I
it?
don't- Adam can, I'll defer to the county attorney on that, but, I think that's it.
That's correct. There could be some changes in the ownership or the partnership structure and the entity, but as long as it's on there, our ordinances do say, unless you can get it expunged or pardoned or some other way of it, getting rid of it, you are barred from holding it, which is not inconsistent with most jurisdictions that issue alcohol licenses.
There is no pardon process to a conviction of a county ordinance.
Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Williams?
I just, there's no questions, but, just let me know when we need to make a motion on this thing.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. I'll call for a you have the options of what we can do, right? Okay.
Yes, sir. I mean, I think in discussion, you know, I would say make a motion to table the alcoholic beverage license application that was submitted by Welcome to the Lake, doing business as Lake House Tap, pending the outcome of the outstanding citation. I mean, I think that's probably the appropriate motion, to not assume what the court's going to do. However, I do believe in Sheriff Sills, and I do believe the court will, you know, probably find it guilty, because I think the sheriff does a great job. So I don't think there's an issue or a concern of what's going to happen in court, but I still think the board should table it until we know for sure. So that would be the motion.
I support your motion that you just presented, and
You want me to read it again?
yes, please.
All right. The motion would be, I make a motion to table the alcoholic beverage license application submitted by Welcome to the Lake, DBA, doing business as Lake House Tap, pending the outcome of the outstanding citation.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just to clarify then, if in fact the court does adjudicate against the applicant, would the alcohol license application then come back to us for approval or denial?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
Yes, you are the granting and denying authority. Staff is not.
Do we have a date to table it to?
Until the court
Just table it.
adjudication is done.
Okay,
It would just
alright.
table it until then.
Okay.
Once we know, we'll bring it back, put it back on a future agenda.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask you to vote electronically. Districts 1, 2, 3, 4 vote yea. The motion to table has passed. Next item is number 9. Discussion and possible action regarding the 2026 alcohol license for Long Shoals Package LLC. And we have one person signed in to speak on that. Camille Ali. Good morning.
Good morning, board. How are you?
Good.
Good. So our situation is similar but different, only in the case that we were actually going through, we've been here for 16 years operating out of that site. We have a change of ownership that was going on, that my uncle was going to be taking over management of the package store and the gas station next door. Both were applied for. The gas station portion was approved, but now all applications go through the Georgia Tax Center, and the application for the package store had a portion of it where an ad was required. And Ms. Butterworth has known us for 16 years. We've been getting our licenses on time every time, even our package store last year. But this time, because of the change of ownership, it required an ad in the newspaper. We reached out and we were told to get information from Georgia Tax Center about getting the ad because it's apparently a state requirement now. And unfortunately, there were too many cooks in the kitchen working on the license at the same time, where they weren't able, Georgia Tax Center wasn't able to help us figure out that where the ad is supposed to go through. We found out that it's supposed to go through the Eatonton Messenger, and we've applied for it. We had told our office to apply for the old license, just in case the new one doesn't get approved in time. And just with the fact that there were too many people involved in it, the old one was overlooked, thinking the new license was going to be approved in time. And everything on the new license was completed except for the ad portion. So we've lost a majority of our business, and we take full responsibility of it. A lot of people have reached out thinking we've closed or we've sold or something has happened, but it was just a change in which family member was going to operate it. So I request the board, instead of tabling this one, if you are able to allow us to be approved for the license that we have at hand, because another alcohol license under the new ownership, which my uncle will be operating, will be coming to your attention to be approved or denied.
Okay, thank you. Sheriff, you want to speak to this?
Gentlemen, this is essentially the same situation. They did not have a valid county license, okay? Now, it is my understanding, and Ms. Fluker and Ms. Butterworth can clarify this for us. I received a new application, but it was under the same corporate name and the same individual, okay? Well, that puts us in the same situation as we are with the last one, okay? That individual was Mr. Kareem Ali, and that's when I pointed out to the county attorney. I said, here we are, we've got the same person applying for a new license, and if the case goes through, then you're going to have to revoke it. So same kind of situation. If they're going to apply for a new license with a new owner, then it needs to be in that person's name. And that's my opinion. That's up to you. But
Okay.
Sheriff, was a citation issued?
yes, sir.
Okay. So, and is there a court date?
July 9th will be the first
July
court
9th.
date, but of course, court, is often continued. Often continued by the defendant, actually, more so than the prosecution.
And Sheriff, just to clarify, the citation was issued because the applicant was
We went out there 2 times and
okay.
bought 2 pints of Jim Beam whiskey, the
Okay.
distilled spirit. Not yet. 90 days after the case is disposed of, it will be disposed of in accordance with law.
Thank you, Sheriff.
You welcome.
Brian,
Yeah,
you want to
so-
speak to that again?
I mean, I think the background sort of has been given. There's also sort of a good write-up in the packet giving a lot of dates where there was a lot of reminders in this case. So, I mean, I understand what the applicant is saying, but I don't know, to me, it wouldn't be an acceptable excuse to say, well, it was getting mixed up. This is too important. And if you've been doing business in the county for 16 years, I think he said, you should have known. You should have known that you had to have this. So I agree with the sheriff that this is something that you don't miss. You make sure you get it. So I think we're in the same boat as the other one. I do think they have the option of submitting a new application in a different name, though, not in the name that is being cited. And the board could then consider that application. But as far as issuing a license in the name that is being cited or has been cited, only to turn around and revoke it upon the adjudication of the case, I think is just not the right way to go.
Okay.
So accordingly, you would basically do the same thing. You would have a motion to table the alcoholic beverage license application submitted by Long Shoals Package LLC pending the outcome of the outstanding citation.
Excuse me, can I speak on that?
Yeah, I think you had about a minute left.
So the new application that was submitted, it's Long Shoals Liquor, and the old company is Long Shoals Package. So the new application that was already submitted in the past that we were waiting on approval from was a completely different company, and it's owned by a different individual, Munir Kotia. So Kareem Ali, who is my father, he is on the old company, which is Long Shoals Package. So the new company is a completely different individual who's my uncle, and it's a completely different company, and that application was already submitted. But it just, it wasn't approved because of the ad
So,
through the state.
but what we're talking about is the old one.
Yeah, we're
Correct.
talking about the old application.
Yeah, so we have to do something on the old one.
Yeah. So the
And then-
the new application will need to move through the process. Do you have that new application?
It's been submitted to the state.
Okay. So it's been submitted to the state first, and then the board can't issue that license until we get it. As soon
course.
as it gets it, we'll move it through as quickly as we can. We understand the impact it has on your business, but we'll move it through as quickly as we can. But as far as the license that is at issue here, I think the board needs to needs to be consistent.
Of course, we're just, only thing we're saying is we feel like we're gonna be the old license will be handed back in before the court date even occurs. So there won't be any revocation that will actually have to occur on the old license. And then if we're not able to get our new license in time, or the state doesn't approve it in time, then that's out of our hands at that point.
So I understand that, and again, the board gets to decide this, but what
course.
you did violated the ordinance.
Oh, of course,
and
we
there's-
take
and
full
there-
ownership of it. We had the state, the mix-up was that the state issued the state license without the local approval on it. And that was our overlook because it's just a fault on our end.
Yeah, but I mean, if I can finish, what you did violated the ordinance, and there should be some penalty to that, and there'll be a penalty in court, but the additional penalty, if the board sees fit, would be to not issue the license. That to me, this is a significant thing. You have been selling alcohol without a license, and there should be a penalty to that. If the board imposes that penalty, that could include not giving you the license today. That's up to the board.
Sounds good. Thank you. I just want to clarify the difference in ownership.
Thank you. You have a motion?
So, again, the motion would be to table the alcoholic beverage license application submitted by Long Shoal Package LLC pending the outcome of the outstanding citations.
So moved.
Second.
Can I just clarify for me, the new license is separate from the old license, so all we're dealing with is the old license.
Correct.
And if the new license process is accomplished, that is the ad, I think is the only thing holding it up, then it will come back to us. But will it be under the same name?
No, it's a different name.
Different, okay, so it's a different name, so it doesn't matter what the court rules in terms of the old license. Yeah, okay.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask you to vote electronically. So District 1, 2, 3, and 4 vote aye. The motion to table is approved. Item number 10, update regarding a non-specific recommendation made by Putnam County Planning and Development, Lisa Jackson, on page 128 of the board packet, for the Board of Commissioners meeting on February 17th, as instructed at the March 6, 2026 regular meeting. Commissioner Garrett, I think that was your thing, so you can speak to that if you like.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So this dates back to some, as you said, non-project specific staff recommendations, I think dating back to late last year. And I brought them back up because I felt that they were worthy of discussion. And we agreed that back in February, and then we set this date to get an update from staff as to how we might begin to think these through, enact these, accepting that they are big, broad ideas. They're going to play into the upcoming comprehensive plan update that we must do by the end of next year, etc. But, Mr. Chairman, I think we're going to invite Ms. Jackson up to give us an update.
Yes.
And the attorney, yes, too.
No, I'll do it together. Lisa said I had to go first. So staff met with one commissioner, Commissioner Garrett, to discuss the overarching purpose of the particular zoning district we were thinking about creating. We've changed it. Originally, it was a commercial crossroads, but now it's neighborhood commercial district. The intention was to try to narrow the commercial that we currently allow in C1 and C2 in response to some of the requests that you've received. I thought it was a very productive meeting with Commissioner Garrett. We sat down and looked through District 2 to determine where the growth might be that this type of zoning use would speak to. We also spent some time going through on staff level what uses might be included in this area. Mercy, if you could scroll just a little bit. Original version has changed a little bit, but this is the current working version, this new zoning district. The allowed uses, if you'll remember, at one point we had included in self-storage units or smaller mini warehouses, took that provision out. We've put convenience stores at a maximum of 4 gas pumps, and everything else is pretty much similar to what we started with. I think we may have made some changes to some of the, I think at one point we had package sales. That's been taken out. We did keep in subsection D a limitation on distance requirements for convenience stores, which that's where we are now. Any commissioner that wants to discuss not having an oversaturation of a particular use in these zones can still do that. One change that, from a structural standpoint, that we talked about was originally the intention was to possibly prospectively zone some of these areas that were identified. I think now the better way of going about it would be that this would be a proposal if someone wanted to zone property that was adjacent to agricultural and residential uses that would sort of be a transitional commercial use rather than going to C1. The only other big change would be we have been working on some of the architectural review standards. This would be the first time in your ordinances where you would require additional building standards to be met. Right now, those are focusing on probably building materials more than anything, and some of the signage. We're borrowing from other jurisdictions. My hope would be I've told Lisa before the end of the day, we would have a good working copy of other ones. Depends how the rest of the day goes and how this meeting goes. But my suggestion would be that the individual commissioners, or at least 2 of you, if in order to avoid quorum, meet with Ms. Jackson to discuss in the same manner that Commissioner Garrett did about what you want this zoning district to look like and where exactly in your district it could go. I think it's as much as it was required of you gentlemen in this position. I think it was a very effective meeting, and I think it brought about a lot of information to staff that would explain what exactly we're looking for. And my hope would be at the end of that, we can then actually put it on the agenda to go ahead and get it in place. Because it's the cake is coming together where it's getting pretty close to us to actually bring it forward. Today you've got number 12. This would be the first ordinance amendment we've actually of this round of ordinances we've gone through. My hope would be that this particular ordinance would be near behind. But in order to do that, I do think Ms. Jackson and her staff would like an opportunity to meet with the individual commissioners.
I would note that, and I kind of disagreed with the individual meetings because I felt like, and I asked for this, and it was supposed to be scheduled, but the chairman canceled it for whatever reason. But I felt like it was more beneficial, in my opinion, for all the commissioners to meet with Ms. Jackson, and then Ms. Jackson tell us what she was looking for and within the rules, the zoning rules, and things like that. Because you look at Commissioner Hersey, he and I share a lot of the same stuff, so we need to know together what we're thinking, so that, to me, it's just a much more seamless thing. I don't want to meet individually and then I want something and Commissioner Hersey wants something when we could have sat there together and worked it out. So I just felt like having a work session with all the commissioners there, having the public an opportunity to listen to what we're talking about, and an idea of what we're trying to create and accomplish was, to me, the better option. That's why I didn't choose to meet with Ms. Jackson individually. I felt like, and at the time the chairman agreed, I talked to Commissioner Wooten and asked him, and I think you and I talked about that, having to kind of together. I'm not sure why it got canceled, but that's why I never met with Ms. Jackson. So anyway, I still think that's the better option, in my opinion. I just think that we need to discuss it openly, and the public needs to be a part of that.
Yeah, I think that that bird can also be killed with that stone too. I think the intention, it wasn't intended to not provide transparency. Some of it is actually forming the ordinance. I think Commissioner Garrett would freely explain the things that we talked about. Part of the issue we ran into is that when we've done these ordinances, we're taking big bites. And so I do think, I would agree, if we had the full body on just this one ordinance, it probably would be more effective. The only thing I would say is it would be a more effective meeting if we come in with some ideas from the commissioner's standpoint of where they're thinking. But obviously, that's for y'all to decide. And I think, Lisa, it would require a little bit more information gathering at one time, but I don't think that would be a problem for staff to do that.
Commissioner Hershey, you?
You know, as far as District 3 is concerned, I think we're pretty well saturated. Anybody who's driven on Highway 44 is well aware of that. So looking at District 3 map, the only area that I see that, as far as the comprehensive plan is concerned, is the state highways. And to me, it seems that any state highway, and particularly Highway 16, you know, anything bordering that should fall under the commercial designation. The only discussion we would have would be how deep the commercial property ought to go, and it's my feeling right now that 600 feet from the center line is reasonable for any commercial entity that is going to go along a state highway. If you, I mean, I'm not, you know, it's not a hill I wish to die on, but you know, I think that 600 feet limitation should be considered, and we can talk about it. But to come back to Commissioner McElhaney's point, and that is, we have basically an ordinance change that will provide for an additional zoning proposal, and the question is, where should that apply? And I think that with regard to Commissioner McElhaney's suggestion, that we probably ought to have a work session to decide on where this new zoning should apply. That would be my only.
Mr. Garrett?
Yeah, I obviously agree a work session makes sense, but I would support what the attorney said. I found it very helpful to meet and just think it through, ask questions, clarify ideas, and I think I'd encourage other commissioners to consider that, perhaps meet in areas where there are overlapping districts. So I think it's a win-win. Individual meetings plus session is probably the ideal.
Ms. Jackson, did you have anything you want to say? Okay.
I would just echo that the meeting with Commissioner Garrett.
Please, thank you.
I would just echo that the meeting with Commissioner Garrett was productive, and it did help us to gather the information that we need, and we would love to hear from you guys so that when we come to the room, we would have a prepared document that we all could review so that we won't have to get that information, then go back and come back again. So it was productive, but however, as the attorney said, we will do whatever you ask us to do.
Which would you have anything?
I kind of tend to agree with that. Maybe on an individual basis, like I border you on Scufflebarrel, Martin Luther King there. And you on 129. I'm right in the middle of everybody, it seems like. But now, would you want to be just an individual or pairs?
So we can meet two at a time. So as you know, we would welcome two of you at a time, but we can't do three.
Okay, that's
So
right.
two would be
Yeah,
fine.
two at a time would, I think, would
Yeah,
be
we can't have a quorum.
would be great. And one thing we got to keep in mind as we go, we're getting 4 lanes everywhere now, and probably about 10 years, there's going to be a 4 lane down 129. It's already been proposed, and all that's got to be taken into consideration on where it's going to be. And if at that time, if you could have the proposed would help out a lot.
Sure. We'll
And
see if that's available.
but I'm in total agreement of 2. I would have to have me and you, and I'd have to have 3 meetings, but that'd be fine. And then we all get together and have one big meeting.
And do we need any, you guys? You want to set a work session?
Yeah, I move that we schedule a work session to discuss this question of a new commercial designation on arterial roads, and we need to set a date.
Well, will the staff set that, or we need to set that date on the work session?
Would it be better? Because I got to have 3 meetings, and that's going to be probably about 3 days. It's going to take me to get through.
Everybody does. I'd border with you, I'd border with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you want to just figure out a date after all the meetings have been? Would
Yeah,
that be
I
better?
think that might be better. We'll authorize staff to schedule a work session.
Yeah, so if you remember, we did that poll, electronic poll. So once we get to a point where we're ready to schedule one, we'll just put out enough
Perfect.
dates and do a poll again, the electronic poll, find a date that aligns for everybody and pick it.
Does that work for everybody?
Yep.
So we have a motion, have a second?
Second.
Can we vote electronically then? Any discussion, further discussion? Okay, I ask you vote electronically. Districts 1, 2, 3, and 4 will vote yea, and staff will poll us and schedule a work session. Thank you. Moving on, we have item number 11. It is the authorization for the chairman to sign an intergovernmental lighting agreement between Georgia Department of Transportation and Putnam County. And I'll ask the county manager to speak to that real quick.
So what this lighting agreement does is provides lighting at the 2 roundabouts that are planned for Phase 3 of the 44 widening project. Of course, Phase 3 hasn't been even put out for bid, or even the final design. I don't think they even have all the right-of-way yet. But they need to know from the county whether or not the county is willing to fund the lights for these 2 roundabouts. The question really is, if the county's not willing to fund it, then the lights don't go in. And these would be mast lighting, down lights with LED. The county could put solar lights if they wanted to, which would, help reduce some of the cost, but the cost of lighting would be approximately $40,000 a year for these 2 roundabouts. It is incredibly important to have lighting in these roundabouts because people are not used to them. In Greene County, there's 5 roundabouts, and Greene County did agree to put lighting on all 5. That was about $90,000 a year. But now it's Putnam County's turn to decide whether or not they want to have lighting at their 2 roundabouts. But they will not be light pollution because they will be facing downwards really just to light up basically that roundabout type intersection to make sure that the citizens can see it and traverse it.
Okay. Do you have a motion? And we'll do discussion.
Can I, just want to ask a quick question. Will there be pole lights?
Yes, they will be on poles, and then there would be a mast that comes out, and the light would be shining down.
Well, who would, in case like the light we put at Scott Road and somebody hits it, who would be responsible for the maintenance on that?
According to this agreement, the county.
Because I remember we put that light up, and it was probably about 6 months later, somebody hit it, and we had to take up the bill on that. Okay, and I think that was about $300,000, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, well, I'm good with it.
Does DOT pay for the initial setup and we pay the maintenance and the light, the electricity?
So they do install the lights, yes. So they install the lights as part of the project. All the county's agreeing to do is pay for the electricity and the maintenance of the lights.
Okay.
So if a light goes out, they are LED lights. If a light goes out, then the county, would have to go out and do the maintenance on it.
Okay.
And just to confirm, these would be the first roundabouts in Putnam County.
Yes.
Okay. Having grown up in the UK, roundabouts are second nature to me, but appreciate the significance for you all.
Okay, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize the chairman to sign the intergovernmental lighting agreement between Georgia Department of Transportation and Putnam County.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion further? All right, I'll ask you to vote electronically. Districts 1, 2, 3 and vote yay. 1, 2, and 4 vote yay. District 3 votes nay. The motion passes. Item number 12, authorization for staff to schedule a public hearing on proposed changes to the Putnam County Code of Ordinance, Chapter 33, Energy Creation, Energy Storage, and Digital Infrastructure. We have 3 people signed in to speak on that, and I'll go in the order they're signed in, and the first one is Jerry, you have to excuse me, Nolly? Nowlin, I'm sorry, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Really, my concern is that we're putting the cart before the horse in having line items allowances for a data center. What I would respectfully request is that in the scheduled public hearing, there's also the option that the Putnam County does not allow data centers at all. And just put that on the table also, because I do believe that the vast majority of Putnam County residents do not want a data center in the area. So again, just would like to put on the table that part of the discussion is that it's not allowed at all.
Okay, thank you. Next is Dale Bills.
Good morning, Chairman,
morning.
Commissioners, staff, welcome, Manager Loeffler. And I want to talk a little bit about I'm glad that you're taking some proactiveness. We all know the national push for data centers, especially the ones in rural areas. You may not know that Georgia's in the top 10 for data centers. We're tied with Illinois and Ohio. I realize that this meeting is just for a scheduling, but I did want to give some points to ponder as preemptive information. We know the factors. I know you've probably been drinking from a fire hose on these things because they are something that we need to reckon with. Of course, the power, how they affect our power bills, the water for cooling, how they affect those, and the usage, well drying or lake usage. Land, of course, the bigger the data center, the more the sound buffer is needed, so it's exponential. abatements. We know that there's state abatements, there might be federal abatements, and we have to be aware of how those affect our tax base in the county as well. Legislation is the key. There's guardrails that need to be put up. Could be a moratorium, that's up to you, but we know that there's a lot of counties in Georgia, Florida. We have to be aligned with the state also. There's a lot of counties that are looking for a quick fix for their some of their financial tax base. Some of them have a lot of voter remorse too, with sound and the other factors previously mentioned. So guardrails are important for making sure that the development matches the benefits for the county and the citizens of Putnam County. A lot of counties have forged ahead of you. I would highly suggest that you look at what they've done as a baseline, tailor it. There's also, let's see, so local legislation is important. I would also strongly recommend that you do some site visits. There's 200 plus data centers in Georgia. So, you could take, probably be a lot of time well spent to look at those and see what lessons learned you can glean as we head towards these guardrails that are necessary. Anyway, I thank you for being proactive on this. Thank you for your service. And I hope that this comes for the benefit of Putnam County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sandra, and I'm sorry, I can't read the D. That's all right. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Come on.
Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you. While we're waiting for the next public meeting to happen, I know you're going to be doing due diligence, and I truly appreciate you taking the time to do that because it seems like the wild, wild west right now. And I have a background in technology. I've helped financial institutions and actually the company known as Big Brother do their data centers. So I do know a lot about this. But I'm going to keep it real high level. I have 3 minutes, 2.5. AI requires 4 critical things to become more intelligent: more data, more compute, more power, and more water. AI is expanding not this way or this way, but this way. That means everything that they require, the data, compute, power, and water, also expands. My question is, how will you determine water usage limits with the very model demanding more, and more? Are you looking at the full footprint of the water and power usage? For example, the closed loop system does reduce water at the data center level, but it has a hidden burden shift. It goes to the power company. Over 4 times the amount of water will be used at Georgia Power to provide the power needed at the data center. So please consider the full footprint when you look at this. Also, where does the water come from? Will this be fresh potable water, or will it be the effluent treated water from the wastewater? What happens in a closed loop system is the water does pick up chemicals. It's treated. It's very more complex than you think. It's not just a closed system. The water will continually need anti-corrosives and antimicrobials to keep the servers, the cooling system, keep everything cool, the chips, the servers, everything. So that builds up, and that will need to be removed and replaced. That's part of the maintenance. So where is that water going? Will that be discharged? I know the EPD is allowing wastewater to go into our waterways. Where is that going to go? So these are some questions I would like for you to think about and to really consider the full footprint and to come up with a plan that includes the water and power consumption all the way around, not just the data center, the long-term impact on the environment around it as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Decker. All right, that's all that's signed in to speak for that. I'll ask the county attorney, you want to speak to this?
Commission members, this is the result of the time you spent putting into place some concepts of what you might do for what we refer to as technology uses. This proposal will combine the existing solar farm ordinances with battery energy storage systems and data centers into one chapter. I know there's some discussion about possibly putting this into a different appendix, which would be allowed if you wanted to do that in this process. The goal here is to basically create the guidelines by which you would allow the use. If you allow the use, speaking to some of the public comments that were made, this would be the process by which you get your regulations on the books. You can change these along the way. So if, for instance, if you want to have further restrictions on some of these uses, the end result of this process could be that you do that. This gets the ball rolling. The document that would be advertised is in front of you, subject to a few changes that the county manager had redlined. And I had a few inconsistencies with some of the zoning districts that were listed in there that aren't in your zones anymore. Other than that, this is intended to get a public hearing scheduled, and I would anticipate between now and the public hearing, and at the public hearing, you would get an awful lot of feedback from your constituents about the particular uses. But this is the step in doing that, and there will be a lot of questions you'll have to answer between now and that time, both where they will be, if they will be, and how they'll be built. But this is the first step.
Okay. Do you have a motion?
Yes, I move that we authorize staff to schedule a public hearing on proposed changes to the Putnam County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 53, Energy Creation, Energy Storage, and Digital Infrastructure.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll let, Commissioner Hersey.
Well, I think the document as presented requires substantial alterations. And I would prefer to have those alterations done prior to any public hearing on it. So I don't know when we might affect those changes, but for example, there's nothing in this document which limits the size of a data center or limits the size of a battery storage unit. I think both of those need to be limited in terms of the size of them. We know that in the future, technology is going to improve, so a 30-acre battery storage unit today may be able to handle a certain wattage, but 10 years from now will handle more. But I think it is important that we limit the size of either of these things. The other thing is that I am concerned that data centers, battery storage units, large solar fields should not be allowed in the agriculture zone or in the C2 zone. The reason I say that is simply that we have very limited industrial zones. I mean, we have not approved them. So that any data center or battery storage unit or large solar farm would have to come to this body to get a rezoning if we limit it to industrial areas. So they would have to apply for an industrial rezoning prior to it. So we would have, in effect, the option of saying, no, we don't want a data center. We don't want one of that size or whatever the concept proposed is. So we can use the rezoning process as a means of filtering what we do or don't want. So I would say that those changes need to be incorporated before any public hearing is had on these items. I do like the notion that we may put this into an appendix so that anybody who is considering one of these technologies, if you will, has a single source to find what they need to do, what they need to comply with, rather than putting it into an ordinance chapter, which can be very confusing to people because they have to go through the entire ordinance to find out exactly what they need to do. Anyway, as I say, I would prefer to have the changes made prior to any public hearing on this. And I don't know how we go about making those changes, whether we have each individual commissioner suggest changes to the ordinance, to the 22-page epistle that we have here before us, or whether we hold, again, a work session to decide where and when we are going to adopt this.
Commissioner Garrett.
So reading through the draft, and it is just a draft, of course, what I appreciate about the draft is it does feel disinterested, and by that I mean it's not aggressively pro, and equally it's not aggressively anti, and I think that's the appropriate stance at the moment, particularly with data centers, because there's such a novel and controversial phenomenon, and there's a lot of talk about them, not necessarily well informed, but equally they are a novel technology, and they're, as one of the public comments stressed, that there's a lot of nuance to how they operate, a lot of detail, technical considerations we need to be sensitive to, but also that they're a moving target. They will gain in efficiency, and there'll be novel techniques that will emerge, and we don't want to box ourselves in or imagine that we can somehow anticipate all of that ahead of time. I think, like any ordinance, but this one in particular, it's going to be a living document, and we can certainly try and refine it up front, but I think we should expect to revisit it over time as well for those reasons. And I think, to Commissioner Hersey's point, I would prefer a work session to try and think these things through rather than 4 or 5 commissioners submit potentially incompatible, inconsistent comments. I think we definitely benefited from hearing from Middle Georgia Regional Commission a few weeks ago, their take as a regional body that's had to think this through from the perspective of various counties and put it in the context of state and national developments. That was a helpful, again, calm, sober assessment of a complicated topic. And I think a work session might inform us all and make the process of additional amendments before a public hearing more efficient and more productive.
This is going to be a touchy subject, very touchy subject. It's not large, but a substantial landowner, you're going to step on a lot of toes with this. I mean, trying to tell folks what they can do, you're going to see a bunch of lawsuits. Trying to tell folks what they can and can't do with their property, especially property that's been in that family for 4 or 5 generations. So we got to be very careful with this. I'm just telling you what I see coming. Thank y'all.
Mr. Chairman, just a thought. One is that we don't know what the state legislature is going to do to it this whole business? Are they going to put a moratorium on it? Are they going to say that locally you cannot prohibit them? We don't know. I mean, so we may be at the mercy of the General Assembly for this. The other thing I would like to point out is that this is not an if, it's a when. We, on information and belief, we already have one company which has put an option on a 38-acre parcel for a battery storage facility, if it is approved for Putnam County. So, to me, we need to have something in place which is going to give us at least a comfortable level of security. If we can't prohibit it or we wish to have it, that we have to put certain barriers around it that will assure that it is compatible with the Putnam County lifestyle. So.
Mr. Chairman, I would make an amended motion. I would move that we authorize staff to schedule a public hearing on proposed changes to the Putnam County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 53, Energy Creation, Storage, and Digital Infrastructure, but also, in advance of that public hearing, schedule a work session for the commissioners to try and enhance the document before we get to the public hearing stage.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Jeff. Okay. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask that you vote electronically. Districts 1, 2, 3, and 4 vote yay, so we'll ask staff to schedule a public hearing, but a work session in advance of that, and if you'll do the same thing with the poll, let us know, that'd be great, okay? Thank you. Sure. As long as you bring the coffee. Item 13, reports and announcements, County Manager.
Oh, well, this is my first week without Paul. Paul's last day was this past Friday. It's been a rapid fire week.
I bet.
I don't know if everybody was just holding up, waiting for Paul to be gone to hit me with everything, but that's what it feels like. But it's been a good week. Staff's great to work with. It sounds to me like y'all need an entire day, maybe even an entire week-long work session. I mean, even today, you've listed several items that's a work session.
Mm-hmm.
I have a list that needs to be a work session with y'all. I mean, seriously, I'm not joking. We need a long work session. So, you might really consider scheduling a day-long work session where you even have lunch brought in. I mean, I think that would be helpful because you have a lot of things that need to be talked about, and some of those are time-sensitive needs. So, I'd encourage you to consider that. But anyways, it's been a good week, and look forward to continuing the pace.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
No report.
And I have one that we have the Dairy Festival coming up, so I would ask that you please attend that. It is always a good time. We'll hopefully have some great vendors and a lot of people visiting from out of town and helping spend money and get some tax money in there. Oh, excuse me.
I apologize. The county manager reminded me. I wanted to let the commission know and the public know that staff has received a request from the quarry applicant. That meeting is scheduled for P&Z on July 2nd. The quarry at that time and in this correspondence has indicated that they intend to seek withdrawal of the application. That will be considered at that meeting. The matter is also pending to have the public hearing at that time. So obviously, if it is withdrawn, the public hearing would not take place and the application would be not in effect. That is scheduled for July 2nd, and the intention of this is to let everybody know that that request has been received by staff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
District 2.
Well, if I could just ask the attorney to clarify, just so the public's clear. My understanding is that the request is to withdraw without prejudice, meaning they would like to reapply down the road. Is that accurate?
The withdrawal without prejudice is their term. The only limit that you have in your code or that state law has would be that if someone is denied a variance request, there is under state law, a 6-month period in which that application could not come forth again. And under your code, it's 1 year, although there is a way that you could allow it to come back within 6 months by unanimous consent of the body. The term prejudice and without prejudice is typically used in the legal context to say the matter is ended. With respect to a zoning request, it's never ended. It's just the passage of time. If they were denied, the application, state law and your code has a limitation. So I don't know what their intentions are, but I would assume the rock's not going to go somewhere else in the meantime. So my assumption is at some point an owner of that property or those owners may make the request again. But the term prejudice without prejudice, we only make a decision off the requested rezoning. And a landowner, once they fulfill whatever state law time periods in place, can file again.
Okay. I just don't want people to imagine that withdrawal somehow means this issue has 100% gone away.
Yes, sir. I make that clear that we don't control that. The dispute would, or the request, the zoning of that property would be subject to change for as long as we have zoning.
Indeed.
Can I just, for clarification, Mr. Attorney, if the Planning and Zoning Commission accepts their request to withdraw, the meeting of the 29th, which is scheduled according to the ad in the paper, of this board to consider that matter will not occur.
Correct. And I should clarify that under our ordinances, once a zoning matter has been advertised, it is required to be withdrawn at the action of either the Planning Commission or the Board of Commissioners. So if the Planning Commission does allow the withdrawal, it would render any further action moot. If the Planning Commission does not allow the withdrawal and the application moves forward, it would go to the Board of Commissioners, who, if the applicant maintains the same position, could allow withdrawal or could render a decision on the application, which would be at that meeting.
So on the July 2nd meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, anyone who wishes to speak to the issue should speak to whether they wish to see it withdrawn without prejudice or not withdrawn, that is, the request is denied, in which case it would come to this board on the 29th. Is that correct?
I would say anybody interested in that in the rezoning action should attend the July 2nd meeting. Whether or not it's withdrawn or not is very likely not a Zoning Procedures Act action that would require a public hearing. But previously, with respect to the tabling request that the applicant had made at the May meeting, public comment was allowed, and to the extent that I think that to be consistent, my suggestion would be to allow public comment on the withdrawal as well. However, a withdrawal motion is not dispositive of the zoning. It's just whether or not the matter should be withdrawn or not. But
I mean, the fact is that we have a job fair next week.
yeah,
For the quarry.
my intention in this.
Why would anybody withdraw their application and then hold a job fair? Beats me.
Yeah, to be clear, my intention in that announcement is not to keep people from coming to July 2nd. It's just that we want to be upfront with the information and correspondence that we've received from the applicant.
And therefore, are we still planning to hold that July 2nd meeting in such a way that we anticipate a very large crowd?
If the application is not allowed to be withdrawn, we will be in the same position we were with respect to scheduling and consideration of the application, and I would anticipate there would be a crowd.
Okay. County Manager, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, so I've worked with the fire chief. Hated to lean on him, but I did because he's way bigger than me. But I leaned on him, and it's a good example of a fire watch, which is in the codes that he's been trying to get adopted. But a fire watch kind of approach to increase the capacity this room will hold. We've got that capacity up to 220 people, but it will require certain accommodations to increase that. And then the rotunda will hold, I think it was 50 or 55 people. And so we would have a TV out there that would display the meeting. But this room getting up to 220 people was a big increase. So it goes from 160 up to 220. But as far as all the other places that were mentioned, the plaza could not live stream. None of the schools could live stream. There was no other place that met the requirements that the board wanted. They were all checked. They were all vetted. And even the plaza was actually occupied on the July 2nd. So even if it could, it was already occupied. So all of those were vetted, and none of them fit the criteria.
And my sense is that because of how things have moved, the applicant's request to withdraw, my sense is come back at a later date to be determined. The significance of the July 2nd event is diminished somewhat, I would argue, and therefore hopefully the arrangements that we've made, and I appreciate what you've done to accommodate, should be sufficient. I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't anticipate quite the crowd we would have had the withdrawal request not been made.
Yes, and I don't really want to speak out of line. I'll just speak from experience. 27 years worth is that when an applicant asks to withdraw, it's normally granted. I mean that, and I think if you didn't, and lawyer could speak to this, you're loading the gun for the applicant for a court case. And I mean that. That is a significant consideration if you don't allow them to withdraw. And if you think about it in terms of somebody applies for a building permit, and I know this is not an apples to apples comparison, but they apply and are issued a building permit, and then they find out the house is going to cost twice as much to build, and they want to cancel that building permit, and you say, no, you got to build the house. No. I mean, you should be able to withdraw. And I think the practice and precedent, then from what I understand, even here in Putnam, it was in Green, but in Putnam, has historically been to let them withdraw. And so if you treat this one differently, it's going to probably be an issue for you. And so that's something the P&Z Commission needs to understand, and I suspect the attorney will make sure to let them know that.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Thank you.
It just appears to me that their motion to withdraw at the same time they're holding a job fair says they are going to bring this back. We're going to have to see it at some point, so why not deal with it now?
So Commissioner Hersey, I understand where you're coming from 100%. My understanding is that they intend to, or likely would change their application significantly, and are doing so based on input from the board and the community. I haven't seen that. I don't know what it looks like, but they have that right, and perhaps it would lessen some of the concern. Probably not, but they have that right to do it. And so if you base your review off of what you have versus their amended application, if they do in fact go forward with it, again, you're loading the gun for them in court. It's just my opinion.
We come back to the same issue that I brought up with regard to the data centers and storage units, and that is when does the Board of Commissioners get to have their say? I mean, if the withdrawal of the quarry issue is accomplished on July the 2nd, this board will never be able to opine how we feel about having a rock quarry in Putnam County. If we don't make the data centers and battery storage units required to have a rezoning, this board will never be able to opine on whether we want such a concept of a data center, 20 acres of building or whatever, somebody comes. I would just like to have an opportunity to express myself.
Okay, I'm finished with my report. District 2.
Yes, thank you. Just a couple of things. One, I want to acknowledge the Voices and Votes exhibition that we had here from the Smithsonian, just to really appreciate the work of the Georgia Wright Museum for winning us that distinction of being the first location in Georgia to host that traveling exhibit to mark our nation's 250th birthday. A lot of work went into it, and I appreciate the volunteer docents, and I appreciate those in the community who organized adjacent events that were well received and very worthwhile. I'd also remind everyone that this board did approve the drone show to commemorate the 250th anniversary. It's going to be on July 3rd in the evening. Once it gets dark, it's going to be at the Recreation Department, the Pool Rec Center, and I appreciate the county manager working with the rec center staff, working with the sheriff and his team to start to plan this event. We're still thinking about what else might be on a related program. I think the drone show is the main event, clearly, but we're thinking about some related activity. If anyone has ideas, input, wants to get involved, please let me know. But I appreciate the board supporting that idea, and I've had a lot of great feedback from citizens that they like it, they're looking forward to it. And I'll just finally say I appreciate the new county manager coming in, getting to work quickly. You've certainly been very responsive to the emails I've sent you. Hope I haven't sent you too many, since that's what you were saying. But I'm enjoying working with you so far, and glad you're on board.
District 3.
Let me first echo the sentiments of the gentleman from the 1st District. Tomorrow, it's Dairy Festival. Hope everybody will come. It's unusual because the Dairy Festival is always held on the hottest day of the year. And yet the weather forecast is for a reasonable weather day. So I hope that will bring out more people than usually attend.
District 4.
Carrying on what he just now said, usually it rains the night before, and the humidity is terrible. When we were on rescue squad years ago, me and Commissioner McEhaney's daddy, he said, it had to rain last night. We'd be out there helping direct traffic and stuff like that. But y'all have a good, safe weekend. From what I gather, information that right around it's going to be probably 2 or 3 big get-togethers. Y'all drive safe, be careful, and have a good time. This is one of the times of the year that a lot of reunions happen this time of year. Everybody comes back to town, sees their schoolmates and stuff like that, and sees relatives, comes back to the home place, and everybody gets together. So let's enjoy it, appreciate it, and it's bad. When I graduated high school in 1980, there was over 100 dairies in Putnam County, and I think it's 4 now, and that's been 46 years ago. But I ain't gonna say there ain't as many cows now, because the 2 of them that are here now milk about 1,500 or 1,600 apiece, and 100 dairies milking 150 cows. There you go. But y'all have a good time this weekend, and y'all take care. And if you need anything out of us, give us a holler.
Thank you. With no further business before the board, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote electronically. Districts 1, 2, 3, and maybe 4. 4. Vote yea. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.